Now, Oscar, the first question that I always have, and I'm very curious about you because back in the days, the NBA was not as televised as it is today. Who were the players that you were looking up to when you were a kid?
Well, actually, I knew some players from Indianapolis, the Indianapolis Olympians, but the Globetrotters were my favorite team to watch back in those days because I got to meet Goose Tatum and Marcus Haynes and some of the other players on the team. And so that was great for me. Being a young fella to be able to meet these guys who played all over the world was really tremendous.
All right. And who was the first NBA player that you admired, or the first NBA player that you thought, okay, you liked his game?
Well, in 19, I guess I saw Maurice Stokes play a little bit, but he got hurt and couldn't finish his career. Then I guess that I really saw was, I don't know, some of the guys who played at Kentucky. I don't know their names now.
All right. Now, you were the first pick of the 1960 draft, and the most craziest thing is many people, especially the younger folks, know you. Okay, Oscar Robertson, the guy with all the triple doubles. But what many people don't realize is that you were putting up those numbers in your rookie season, which is incredible and incredible. Why was the transition for you from college to the NBA so easy? How could you perform those numbers right away?
Well, I don't think it was real easy because I played against some great players, great defensive players like Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and players like that. So it was not, and you played those teams in those days maybe 12 or 13 times a year. So they got to know what you could do, and also it was tremendous competition that we played against. But the competition brought out the best in you. Where I played in Indianapolis, Indiana, where there was a lot of competition, a lot of players who did not go into high school or finish college or anything, but great basketball players. I learned from them. So I just thought everyone was playing the same way, to be honest.
Now, you mentioned Wilt Chamberlain. What was your first impression when you actually played against him?
Well, great, a big man. Wilt was dominating on defense and offense as well. I think that Wilt averaged 50 points a game one year, which I think he really carried the NBA to where it is today. And he also scored 100 points in a game.
Yes, incredible.
So he was a big man who could run. Wilt is still a great athlete.
Absolutely. Now, in your second season, you not only averaged a triple-double, but which is even more incredible to me, is that you were averaging 12.5 assists per game. And just to compare, many people consider Bob Cousy as one of the best passers of that era, but he was averaging like 7 assists, and you're a guy who almost doubled his numbers. Where did the passing gift come from? How did you become such a great passer?
I don't know. I guess it's the way I played in high school, the way I learned to play from my coaches when I first started playing basketball. And the guys, you get to know the guys you're playing with, you know what they can do, you know where they are on. You got to have real good command of the offense that you're playing in. So therefore, I just felt that everyone was playing the same way. I didn't really know, Sean, that I was doing these things, to be honest. I thought everybody was playing the same way that I was playing.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I got to be honest, and many people that watch the show know this, I'm not the biggest fan of today's NBA. And when Russell Westbrook started to have those triple-double streaks, I always thought, okay, fascinating, great, but to me it always looked like he was aiming for the triple-doubles, and it didn't come naturally. What was your mindset back in the days? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were a guy who just played the game and those numbers just happened, right?
No, they happened because no one thought about a triple-double back in the days when I played basketball. I think with Russell, it got to be a thing. The people wanted it, the fans wanted it, and he was a very, very good basketball player. And although I think what is meant by an assist today is a lot different than it was years ago, but this is where we are. And Russell was a great person, and I think that he deserved the credit he gets because it's not, even though he gets talked about a lot, and some people don't really give him the credit for getting the triple-double. I mean, look how many guys can do those things?
Yeah, very, very true. But to me, as a basketball player, I always thought, okay, stats don't matter. The main goal is to win the game. And if you have 10 rebounds at the end of the game, okay, great. But you shouldn't care about the stats during the game.
Well, that's true. You really shouldn't care about the stats at all during the game. I don't think you should care about stats at all because when you get a triple double or quadruple, whatever they call it, four, and four, you have to try to win the basketball game. That's the ultimate thing that you have to do in a basketball game. And I think it's unfortunate that Russell is in a situation that before where he couldn't win. Now he's with the Lakers, and maybe it'll be a different situation because it looks like it. But even now, there's a lot of people said this is not going to happen, that's not going to happen. But I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that nothing happened until they throw the ball up.
Very true. Very true. Now, talking about your career again, the most dominant team of your era had to be the Boston Celtics. And I'm just curious, did you ever think about what it would have been like if you could have joined that team? If you could have had those kind of players around you, did you ever thought about that while you were playing or now after your basketball career?
No, during those days, playing with another team was not an option at all. No one thought about that because you had a lot of loyalty to the team that you were with. You knew guys and whatnot, and you only had 8 teams. And I don't even think the owners were into that, this guy or that guy, getting guys, grouping guys together. But I think that Russell was lucky in a situation where he was traded from St. Louis to Boston. Boston was grateful and lucky to get Bill Russell.
Yes.
Because I don't think, but then when Russell came, he got a lot of other great players. Sam, got John Havlicek, Nacho Kuzi was there. So they had very good talent. And I think when Bill came there, along with some other players that Red Auerbach was able to get, made them a great basketball team.
Very true, very true. Now, when we look at today's NBA, we see that the three-point shot is now a big part of the game, more than it has ever been. And when we look back at your basketball career, the three-pointer did not exist at that time. And I'm just curious, what do you think? How would the three-point shot have impacted your game?
I'm sure it would have impacted our game to a certain point. I think what you have now is a three-point shot. The kids are great at it. I mean, I think to me it looks like from the three-point spot on the floors, these players today are much better shooters than they were years ago. Because years ago, when you played ball, coaches wouldn't let you shoot that far out on the floor. If you did, he wouldn't play very much. But now it's analytical. The analytics say, hey, 3 points better than 2, which is true. But analytics are great if you make the shot. If you're not making a shot, it's no good. Because remember when Houston played against Golden State and they were like 7 for 35 or 40 or something like that? That just goes to show you what I mean by that. It's great if you're making a shot, but Curry is a tremendous shot. He makes a lot of them. And I'm sure he's going to enable a lot of guys coming up behind him to be able to shoot maybe close to him or maybe better than him.
But don't you think that the three-point shot would have given you more space to penetrate and open the game more up for you to score more?
I'm sure it would have. Not only myself, but a lot of other players who played during those days. But I will say this, that coaches were a little different in those days. And if you had a basketball team that shot three-point shots all the time, I know that in the playoffs, we picked everybody up full court.
Yes.
So we didn't give them an opportunity to come down and start our defense around the foul line. We went out and engaged them before we got down to half court, and we pressured them. So it was a little different situation, but it's a good game. It's a fans game. They love it. So let's go with it.
All right, man. In 1969, you played for Bob Cousy, which I just found out like a couple of weeks ago, and I was fascinated because I thought, okay, that combination is pretty interesting. Now, I was too young to see how the relationship was like, but I noticed that I think a year or 2 years later, you were gone when Cousy came.
On me.
Oh,
can't hear you. Can I hear you now?
Okay, one sec. Can't
hear you.
Can you see me now and hear me now? Hello, can you hear me and see me? Can you hear me now? No? Okay. Can Can you hear and see me now?
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
It's us.
500% connected to GX11WAMDRTR.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine now.
Oh, okay. Well, it wasn't my computer. Probably something with your computer, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Absolutely fine. Yeah, let me repeat the question. No problem. In 1969, in 1969, you played for Bob Cousy, which I found out only a couple of weeks ago because I was too young to see you play at those in those days. But I thought that the dynamic was pretty interesting because not only did you play for one of the greatest point guards of all time, but also you left after, I think, one season.
Yes,
So tell me, what was the dynamic like playing for Bob Cousy? And please be honest.
How honest do you want me to be?
Very.
Well, the situation got in Cincinnati was such that they were trying to move the team to Kansas City. And they brought in Bob Cousy, the coach, and hopefully he could get that done. So he traded all the players, and I was one of the players that he traded. And you know, it was a low point in my career, being that I was talked about in such a manner that I didn't do them very much during all the years I played in Cincinnati when I made All Pro every year. But telling the truth is something that I thought that he came in with the plan to get me out of Cincinnati.
Okay, you were probably the best or second best player at that time. Why would you want to get rid of that player? It doesn't make any sense.
You know, you have to. Well, I don't know. He's still around somewhere, but I'm not sure. But you have to understand. The team, the owners of the team, wanted to move the team from Cincinnati to Kansas City. And so what they wanted to do, and I had a clause in my contract that I could nullify any trades. So therefore, they were talking about in Cincinnati that I hadn't done anything in 10 years, and I was getting old, and all the things you could say about a basketball player, which were not true. And so therefore, they traded me to Milwaukee.
Which turned out to be a blessing in disguise for you.
It did. It worked out fine. I was there 4 years. We enjoyed Milwaukee. It was very nice. Friendly people, and we once won some basketball games.
And you won a chip. Finally, you won a championship. And
yes, we did.
This also would have been my next question. If you're playing for such a long time and you're always reaching for the championship and it just does not work, do you feel more of a relief once you get it, or was it joy? What was the dominant feeling?
Well, it was a little bit of both, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes reporters can get pretty tough on a basketball player when you have a certain class of player that I was. And all they would say was that, oh, yeah, you got triple doubles and you doing this thing, but you haven't won a championship. But, you don't win championships just because you're on a basketball team. You win championships because the management gets together. They know who to put on the team. Bill Russell goes from St. Louis to Boston. And look at all the other trades that were done. And with any team that has won a championship throughout the years, there's always been a key trade made. But Cincinnati didn't make any key trades whatsoever. We had a team, we were fledgling. We could not beat the Celtics. We couldn't beat Philadelphia. We couldn't beat the top 2 or 3 teams. We played very well against all the rest of them.